welcome once again to the preteen ministry here at First United Methodist Church of Baton Rouge. Quick question. Has anyone ever been so focused on a video game and your mom and dad ask you a question and you're like, what? And they have to repeat themselves? Sometimes I get so wrapped up in what I'm doing, I forget there are actually other people on this planet with me. Speaking of video games though, it's time to start with our Game of the Week. The name of the game is Goat Vote. Your job is to decide which of the two options on your screen are the greatest of all time. GOAT. It's a tough choice, but I'm sure you'll get it. Go ahead and comment your vote for each set of pictures we put on the screen. First up, Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. Both extremely talented at what they do, but which one is the greatest? Is it Tom Brady with all bajillion Super Bowl rings he has? Or Peyton Manning with his not as many Super Bowl rings? You decide. Next, Chick-fil-A or Popeyes? Now, what I know is that a box of chicken from Popeyes is like gold here in South Louisiana, but does it compare to the deliciousness of Chick-fil-A nuggets? Only you can decide which of these is the GOAT. And finally, our third option, Vincent van Gogh or Bob Ross? Both extremely talented artists, but who's the GOAT? Did Van Gogh do instructional videos like Bob Ross? I don't think so. But are Bob Ross's paintings hanging in a museum? I don't think so either. This is a really tough choice. You decide. And that's it. Next up. Whew, that was fun and I'm exhausted. So before we get to our Bible story, if you want a recap of last week's story, check out the video right here because they're kind of connected. We're going to continue to talk about Nehemiah and Sanballat and Tobiah. Ugh, those two guys were the worst. They didn't want to see this wall rebuilt. They were enemies of God's people from surrounding lands, and so they taunted the Jewish people for even trying to rebuild the wall. The workers didn't pay them any attention, and they were working so hard and it was going so well that it seemed like nothing could stop this project from being done in record time. But as these stories often go, when it seems like things are one way, something happens that threatens to derail the entire project. And it wasn't Sanballat or Tobiah or those who wanted the wall stopped. This problem came from within the city walls. A group of Jewish people sought out Nehemiah. They found him working on the wall. Now, some men and their wives cried out against their Jewish brothers and sisters. Some of them were saying, "There are now too many of us. We have many sons and daughters, and we have to get some grain so that we can eat and stay alive." And others were saying, "We're being forced to sell our fields, vineyards, and homes. We have to do it to buy grain. There isn't enough food for everyone." And still others were saying, "We've had to borrow money. We need it to pay the king's tax on our fields and vineyards." But Nehemiah had a job to do. He was busy. He had a wall to rebuild. It's why he came to Jerusalem in the first place. He didn't come here to figure out taxes and food and farms. It wasn't his problem, right? Wrong. When he heard about this, he asked, "Who is making you do this? Who is charging you this high interest and forcing you to sell everything?" And the answer shocked him. "Other Jews," they said, "our own relatives. We even had to send our children to work for them as slaves, to work off the debt." Nehemiah was outraged. He knew that he had been sent to rebuild the wall, but this was something he had to take care of. But instead of flying off the handle and storming off to yell at the lenders who were overcharging their own family, once Nehemiah had everyone all together, he let them have it. "I said our Jewish brothers and sisters were sold to other nations. We've done everything we could to buy them back and bring them home. But look at what you're doing. You are actually selling your own people. Now we'll have to buy them back too." The people kept quiet. They couldn't think of anything to say. So I continued, "What you are doing isn't right. Shouldn't you show respect for our God? Give the people's fields back to them. Give them back their vineyards, olive groves, and houses. Do it right away. Also give them back the 1% on the money, grain, fresh wine, and olive oil you have charged them." Nehemiah called them all out, and they had nothing to say for themselves. They could have argued back, but they didn't. They could have blamed someone else, but they didn't. Instead, God moved on their hearts because of what Nehemiah said. We'll give it back, they said, and we won't require anything more from them. We'll do exactly as you say. Nehemiah sent for the priests so that these leaders and officials could make their promise, not just in front of Nehemiah, but before God too. And they did what they said they would do. They gave everything back. Everything was restored. People got back what they had lost, and because of that, work started back up again on the wall. And for the rest of the time working on the wall, Nehemiah looked out for the needs of the people, not just the needs of himself. We can be just like Nehemiah and act a little more like Jesus if we take our eyes off of our own needs and on to someone else's needs. After all, isn't that how we want to be treated? Now, it's time to
reveal the question.
Who do you see being treated unfairly? What people need your help? And after you see them, what are you going to do about it? Ask God to help you figure out small ways to take initiative and help someone this week. And as always, if you like this video or the story you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Help a friend or two take initiative this week and help someone. See you next time, friends.